No sirens will sound. No missiles will rise. No soldiers will cross borders. When the next great war begins, most people won't even realize it has started. Lights will flicker. Networks will slow. Financial systems will freeze for seconds that feel like hours. Hospitals will lose access to patient records. Aircraft will divert. Satellites will drift silent in orbit. And by the time the world understands what is happening, the damage will already be done. This is Cyber Armageddon, a war without smoke, without explosions, without a visible enemy. And it is already underway. For centuries, war was defined by what humans could see and touch. Armies marched, cannons fired, cities burned. Victory was measured in territory and bodies. But the modern world runs on something far more fragile than steel or gunpowder. It runs on code. Every power grid, every water system, every military command center, every financial exchange is bound together by invisible networks of data. These networks were built for efficiency, not survival. And that vulnerability has become the most valuable battlefield in history. Cyber warfare is not about hackers in dark rooms typing furiously on keyboards. It is about control. Control of information, control of infrastructure, control of perception itself. In cyber war, the first strike does not destroy buildings, it destroys trust. Modern nations depend on digital systems so deeply that disabling them, even briefly, can cause cascading chaos. A single corrupted update can ground aircraft across continents. A manipulated signal can shut down a city's power. A false data injection can trigger military responses based on lies. And unlike conventional war, cyber attacks offer something uniquely dangerous: plausible deniability. There are no uniforms in cyberspace, no flags, no borders. An attack can be launched from anywhere, routed through dozens of countries, disguised as criminal activity or system failure. By the time attribution is even attempted, retaliation may already be irrelevant. This uncertainty is what makes cyber warfare so terrifying. The first true cyber weapons were not designed to kill people directly, they were designed to disrupt, to spy. To prepare the battlefield silently, malware could lie dormant inside networks for years, mapping systems, learning defenses, waiting for the moment it would be activated. When that moment comes, the effects are immediate. Power grids overload. Communication networks collapse. Military logistics lose synchronization. Air defense systems receive conflicting data. Commanders are forced to make decisions without knowing what information can be trusted. In war, confusion is lethal. B. Every major military power now treats cyberspace as a full domain of warfare, alongside land, sea, air, and space. Dedicated cyber commands operate continuously, not during war, but before it. Their mission is simple: be inside the enemy's systems before the first shot is fired. Because in cyber war, whoever strikes first often wins without firing a single bullet. The United States, China, Russia, and other nations have invested billions into offensive and defensive cyber capabilities. Entire units are trained not to fight soldiers, but to fight networks. Their weapons are exploits, zero-day vulnerabilities, and AI-driven intrusion systems. These cyber weapons evolve constantly. Once used, they are often exposed and rendered useless. This creates an endless arms race, where today's advantage becomes tomorrow's liability. Artificial intelligence has accelerated this race dramatically. AI systems can scan millions of lines of code in seconds, identifying vulnerabilities humans would never find. They can simulate attacks, adapt in real time, and rewrite themselves to evade detection. Defensive AI systems respond by learning attack patterns and deploying countermeasures automatically. Cyber warfare is no longer human versus human. It is machine versus machine, and humans are caught in the middle. The most dangerous aspect of cyber warfare is its integration with physical systems. Industrial control systems, once isolated, are now connected for efficiency. Power plants, water treatment facilities, transportation networks, and factories rely on digital commands to function. A cyber attack can open floodgates, shut down cooling systems, or overload turbines. These effects are not virtual. They are physical, destructive, and potentially deadly. Military systems are even more vulnerable. Modern weapons depend on software. Missiles rely on navigation data. Drones depend on communication links. Radar systems process enormous data streams. Compromise the software, and the weapon becomes unreliable or worse, turns against its operator. In a future conflict, cyber attacks may precede conventional strikes, blinding defenses before missiles arrive. Or they may replace them entirely, achieving strategic objectives without kinetic warfare. But the most unsettling battlefield of cyber war is not infrastructure. It is the human mind. Information warfare is a core component of cyber conflict. Manipulating social media, news systems, and communication platforms allows adversaries to shape perception, spread fear, and destabilize societies from within. False narratives spread faster than facts. Trust erodes. Institutions weaken. A population divided is easier to defeat than one united. In cyber Armageddon, victory is not measured by territory gained, but by systems disrupted and confidence destroyed. A nation may still stand physically intact, yet be strategically paralyzed, and escalation becomes dangerously unpredictable. In traditional war, an attack is visible. In cyber war, it may go unnoticed or be misinterpreted. A system failure might be an accident or an act of war. Retaliation based on false assumptions could trigger real-world conflict. Ambiguity is one of cyber warfare's greatest dangers. International laws of war were written for bombs and bullets, not bits and bytes. There are no clear rules for proportional response in cyberspace. No agreed definitions of what constitutes an act of war. No reliable way to prevent escalation once attacks begin. Cyber Armageddon does not begin with a declaration, it begins with silence. As defenses grow stronger, attackers grow smarter. Future cyber weapons may use quantum computing to break encryption instantly. They may use AI-generated code that changes faster than defenders can respond. They may target not systems, but decision-making itself, feeding leaders false data until they act against their own interests. In such a world, security becomes not a destination, but a constant struggle. Nations are preparing, militaries conduct cyber war games, simulating digital blackouts and infrastructure collapse. Stir governments, invest in resilience, redundancy, and rapid recovery. But absolute defense is impossible. Complexity itself is the weakness. The more connected a society becomes, the more vulnerable it is. And yet, cyber Armageddon remains largely invisible to the public. There are no victory parades, no ruins to photograph, only quiet disruptions that fade from headlines, even as the battlefield expands. The war you'll never see coming may already be shaping the world you live in. Every login, every update, every connection is part of the battlefield. Cyber Armageddon is not a future threat. It is a present reality. And when the decisive moment arrives, it may be over before anyone realizes it ever began. This is WarTech Frontier, and this is the war without smoke.